let's see how many bashers are waiting
Oh, no, 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 no,
for
don't worry. I
me.
will I will assure you of that.
Oh no, but no, I mean
Matagal
it's
na ako sa
something.
industrang 'yan. Matagal na
Yeah,
ako sa
it's I
industrang
think we
Let's see
both
how
had
many
that for
bashers. So
we've had both had that for breakfast so many more
Yeah,
than a decade perhaps.
absolutely, absolutely. Veterano na po tayo. All right, so I'm gonna record this also now officially. We're live already on YouTube. All right, fantastic. Welcome back,
Okay.
everyone, dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Today, we really have a special guest. I always say that about all our guests, including some of the more questionable guests like Ronald Llamas. But today, ito talaga, special talaga ito. Thank you sa mga common friends who made this happen. We're together with Father Flaviano Antonio L. Villanueva. Thank you, Father Flavi, for joining us.
Thank you also, Richard, for having me, and I'm happy to be here and looking forward to a beautiful, meaningful, and fruitful conversation.
Right.
The name of the our ano is Deep Dive, huh?
Deep dive. Yes, yes, yes.
Great, great,
So maraming
great.
iterations yung sa akin. One was like Meta Live, Richard Hidarian's show, and then eventually thanks to the advice of people at Spotify, because thank Lord, we're consistently top 100 podcast in the Philippines. I mean, all genre, not political, like
Wow.
genre. So we feel this is a God-given blessing, because I never thought we can make a political podcast consistent top 100 in the Philippines. I mean, abroad uso yun mga political podcasts, panalong-panalo. Pero tuwan-tuwa po tayo na consistently we have been at some point even top 10 podcasts in the country. So,
Mm-hmm.
someone suggested, maybe Richard, you want to professionalize a little bit more? Alam ko masyado kang informal, medyo kalok ka and all. Maybe make it something like, something about your deep dive analysis. I said, okay, I'll make it deep dive, right? So, yun,
Nice,
that's the
nice.
birthplace of the name Deep Dive. And of course, we're very blessed. I'm partly based in Oxford, but also here. So we also do international. So with Foreign Affairs Magazine, which is like the leading magazine in international
Mm-hmm.
affairs, I have a partnership. So I have people here who were, top advisors of Biden, who served in different administration. But today, Father, gusto kong balikan yan. Obviously, congratulations, belated congratulations for the Ramon Magsaysay Award
Thank you.
early this year. Super deserved. It goes without saying, I've been hearing about the wonders you and other spiritual folks at the Catholic Church have been doing, especially para sa mga biktima ng extrajudicial killings at lahat ng mga kababayan natin na inaapi throughout the decades, throughout the years, and especially during the dark ages of Duterte and the drug war. So, Father Flavi, bago natin pag-usapan itong your increasing tribe of bashers in light of your very, I would say, civic duty execution vis-a-vis Sara Duterte. Hindi ko alam, 300 pages pang nasubmit nyo with sila Cello and all. Father, can we rewind a little bit and pag-usapan natin, how did you become a father, basically? Because I know you have, and you're very transparent about it. You have, I want, hindi naman Saint Augustinian, but you have an interesting background. Let's just put it that way. Favorite saint ko yan, si Saint Augustine. I mean, yung
Same
confession
here.
saint. Absolutely. Like, it gives you hope, right? May pag-asa pala tayong lahat, di ba? So, Father, can we start there?
Someone asked me, let's start by saying, who's your favorite saint? Of course, no less than Saint Augustine. Oh, Father, we have the same favorite saint. Yeah, yeah, but I follow him more during his past and former life. So
It's the
yeah, it's
the
a pre
redemption.
pre redemption before the catalyst and so well they I would call it a normal teenage life to start with, curiosity, barkada, but one thing that I could say that I did not dive, if I may use the word, into substance abuse because of pressure, because of problems, because of any classic reasons, except that I was enjoying uh, the feeling uh, when I was ordained. I remember being asked at the ABS-CBN by two of my formators, live in the radio interview with Ilsa Reyes. They asked me, Flavie, ano ba feeling when you take drugs? How do you feel about it when you take it for the first time? And my spontaneous response was, feeling go heaven. And all the studio broke out. Ano? Syempre feeling heaven. But that was a very temporary heaven. So after doing it for, well, back then when I started, there was not much meth in the market yet. We were diving into tabs, mogs, and all those blue stuff. And then syrups was our thing then as well. And then the Met came only in the early 90s. And it lasted until probably my catalyst, my Damascus would be the World Youth Day. The World Youth Day, yes. It
Those were
was
the
a
days. Those were the days.
so well, to add to another story, our teatro, we have the Teatro Paghilom. It's these are the women, the widows, the orphans, the homeless who come together and are they go through a 3 day 3 day workshop, and then on the third day they perform, they do a showcase. The last one, the most recent one, was at Assumption, and the nuns were there and they were telling me, Father, we heard that you frequent the place during your younger days. No, sister, that's not completely accurate. There were days, weeks, or even months that I did not frequent the place because I was banned from coming to the park and the school. For reasons of quote unquote naughtiness na lang. So for drugs, for brawls,
You were a
uh
hard hitter.
Ah, I was not the hardest. I will need to admit that. And my classmates would agree to that. So I was just one of those, perhaps, yeah, one of those hard hitters. But I we did enjoyed, except that yeah, is except would be the right word, that I'm using it because I came from parents who were very devout. So that was one of my saving grace. Plus, I started competing in swimming at 7 years old. So I was an athlete, so I needed that discipline because of the trainings every afternoon. Plus, when I hit college, I got very involved with mountaineering. So
And in yin
the
and yang, so you were balancing different kinds of lifestyle. Like, well, mag-gym muna ako, push up, and then rock
yeah,
times. Ganun ba yun?
you could say that I wore different hats. I started even serving in the church as both as a lector, as an altar server to begin with, and as a lector commentator. But of course, we party hard in the evenings, or even before the evenings. So in as much as I wanted to really get wasted on the evenings, I try not to because of the following day's events. But whenever I could, I would love to back then. So it was the height hit when I was in college and when I was in the corporate. But 1995 came, the 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 World Youth Day. Plus, I also incidentally, consequently, probably even I hit rock bottom. So that rock bottom led me to question a lot of the things that I were doing. Why am I into this? Why don't I have any savings? Where is my life headed to? Who are my real friends? What does my God tell me about all this? So those things confronted me, flanked me from every corner, and then that's when I decided to hit cold turkey. I locked myself in a monastery for, it's not really a monastery, but it's a place of silence in Tagaytay for 9 days. And that's when I went through my withdrawal. And yeah, it was difficult, but I was sustained by the silence. I was sustained by someone guiding me through. Prayer helped me a lot. Keeping still, that's where I would say that mercy found me at my darkest, lowest point. And but still, even that time, it was very clear that I never wanted to be a priest. I didn't feel the slightest worthiness. So my mind was set to volunteer. I knew my mother was supporting a lay missionary program. It's called Philippine Catholic Lay Mission. So I looked into her files and I found the file. I applied as a walk-in, and to everybody's surprise, your mother is one of our donors. Does she know? No, she doesn't know. So why are you applying? It's mainly because she doesn't have any peso to donate. That's why I'm donating myself. So right after the World Youth Day, which was also another catalyst event that fortified my decision for change, for conversion, for meaning, I applied for the lay missions and I served for 3 years after the formation in. I was formed in Davao. That's when my eyes was opened to the reality, to the struggles, to the vulnerability and mission of the basic ecclesial communities. This was the community. This was the mission of the small community of lay missionaries. So I was doing that live for around 4 years before I decided to discern what what's next with my life. Yon.
Was that the closest to some sort of a miracle para sa inyong, parang miraglo bang ang dating niya sa inyong pamilya, considering I suppose they knew about, you were a hard hitter throughout the years. Although, I mean, I'm not a professional psychoanalyst, but a part of me feels dahil dun sa discipline ng sports, baka that something snapped in you, or something was looking for a way to loosen basically yung threads, di ba? Kasi swimming, sports, these are very high intensive, highly disciplined
Mm.
kind of sports eh. So baka naman a part of you was trying to kind of escape yung scaffold of hyper discipline. I don't want to do professional psychoanalysis,
Yeah.
but it kind of makes sense to me. I mean, it kind of makes sense to me.
Well, I the sporting thing was only until college. After my last event was with the NCAA, and I did well. I think I landed with a bronze, three bronze medal that time. considering I was partying regularly. But I think it was more of, should you say, the lack of meaning and purpose, because I partied with my quote unquote girlfriend.
So
I
nihilistic, medyo nihilistic self-indulgence. I
Yes,
see what you mean.
yes. Nihilistic indulgence, and there was more of, there was a deep void already that was eating me up. So it was unfair to the girl I was with. There were plans also of settling down, which I said, no way, no way at this kind of state. And my parents were not much pressuring, but they knew that something was wrong. And before they could seriously call my attention for professional help, I already threw in the idea that let me try and fix this one myself. So that's when I subjected myself to get out and lock myself in a place where I could be alone in prayer, and that idea of cold turkey was in my mind. I was scared to return to Makati. I grew up practically in Makati, and after my sojourn of silence, I didn't. There was a part of me that I didn't want to return, because I'd be seeing my old gun, and that would be the scariest. But I had to, because I had to prepare for the next step. So I just have to brace myself. One thing I recalled during that place when I was where I stayed, um, I was partly getting bored for a time, and then I asked the I hope she doesn't mind, the old beautiful gracious lady, is there anything else? Is there anywhere else that I could go and visit? And she pointed me to a road. It's a narrow, winding road. And she told me, faithfully follow through the road, past the gate, and then still go straight. You'll see a chapel on the right, which I did. And I saw the chapel. I entered the chapel, and I realized that it was a seminary, because there were boys who, after I was there for at least 30 minutes, they started praying the breviary. And then I left afterwards when they started singing. But lo and behold, I realized that I didn't realize that it would be at that same place that I would be prostrating myself 10 years later. So, and I did not even knew what congregation that was, what was the name of that church.
Right.
I never knew if there's uh, a name, or a, if you could call it miracle or a divine consequence or intervention, that would be the closest thing for me back then.
So, yung Societas Verbi Divini, I mean, this is really about redemption. This missionary group you have joined. I mean, was that specifically catered to people like you with your kind of, let's just say, colorful background?
Not really, not really. Actually, when I applied, uh, it was clear, and I did mention to the formator who was interviewing me, that I would like to try. I don't have intentions. I don't have any dreams. I simply would like to try. There were four crossroads after my retreat that were confronting me. I go back to the corporate. I take on the married life. I return as a lay missionary and tried the seminary. That was the last. And all the first three were something that I was so familiar with. So the fourth one was the least familiar. Oh, so let's go. I mean, I was still a adrenaline junkie back then, so I tried it for a year, then another year. I think I could say that when I was a novice, that's when I started taking things more seriously.
Interesting. Were there particular people who help you throughout the process of transition? Kasi I'm sure it's one thing to avoid yung tech toxic ecosystem. It's one thing to go through that journey of 1,000 miles of cold turkey, which I can imagine is one of the most horrific and challenging circumstances, which tells you, siguro yung pagka-athletic mo tumulong, no? Kasi you need
Very
discipline.
much,
'Di ba?
very
Magki-kick in
much.
yung ano yung beast mode mo. Like you need to go beast mode to go through that cold turkey days, 'di ba? I mean, for some of us
Yeah.
who have to just quit like smoking lang, you could see like within days hinahanap ng katawan mo, within days you have weird appetites and all. So for some people have gone through deep depression. What that hand that comes in and pulls you back is that sense of discipline, that muscle you develop back in the years, no? You knew
Hmm.
what liligtas sa'yo. But was there someone who mentored you, Father Flavi, to go through this transformation? Because I'm absolutely sure you kept on like laughing. Like, seriously, magpapare ba ako? Like, I'm sure there was always
Yeah.
that voice at the back. Come on, bro. Like, we know what you have been through. You know yourself. So how did you get over that voice? I'm sure maybe it's still there, but who held your hand and said, "Hayo mo na yan. Tara na, ayusin mo na yan. Ito na yan. This is your vocation. This is your life. Amor fati. This is the fate that you have to embrace."
Yeah. There were several. There were several. Well, let me begin by the taunting of people. Malabo yan. I remember my cousin was saying in a reunion, magpapaputol kami ng daliri if ever he becomes a priest. And that kind of stuck to me. So during my first mass, that was years and years later, this same cousin who had my back during the offertory at my first mass was announcing, "Okay, here's a silver platter and a scissor. I'm here to collect your fingers." Uh, so the family, they were there and not, meaning to say there were those who believed, there were those who did not. My parents were the first. They've dreamt, they prayed, but they were also very certain that they were not pressuring me. And I'm not the one who would easily be pressured. There were, when I was a lay missionary, Richard, I was assigned, apart from Davao, in the mountains of Davao, I was fascinated by the religious, the Redemptorists, particularly the life of Brother Carl Gaspar. He's a icon in the Redemptorists, and his writings about struggles, about the martial law year, really enveloped me. But I felt that, and this another person, a fellow mountaineer. Oh, by the way, when I was a mountaineer, it was also a it's my second year as a mountaineer paved the way for me to give up smoking.
Yeah,
So
hindi
that
ka makahabol.
discipline,
Exactly. Like
yes.
reality kicks in. The physics of it. Like umayos ka.
True, true. So it was a choice. Smoking, drugs, or alcohol. Sabi ko, smoking na lang. I'll keep the alcohol and the drugs. So the discipline of mountaineering, the life, we looked at mountaineering as something sacred and lifestyle back then, you know. And then, as I was saying, I was assigned in another place, and this is in the Archdiocese of Cáceres. In that diocese, archdiocese, I am very grateful, even to this day, to have befriended the clergy, and I saw how human they were, how they lived as a human person amidst the struggle, amidst the lifestyle, because I was one of the boys. And I saw them in their vulnerability. I saw them in the missions. We were assigned in Dominican place, and I was with one priest, Father Jake Ibay, who was visited by the rector and now a bishop, who triggered the question, Flavie, why don't you become a priest? Father Rector, why don't you become a lay missionary? Flavie, I'm not joking. How could I be a lay missionary? I'm now a priest. But seriously, Bishop, I don't think I'm worthy. And he quips saying, but who is worthy? You look at your friend priests. You look at the priests who you call barkada in this archdiocese. Yung isa malakas uminom, yung isa malakas mangantsaw, yung isa may hawak ng baril kapag nalalasing. Uh, they're very human, but we get over our humanness, our nothingness, our sinfulness, and allow God's grace to dictate. And we remain humble after being led by the Spirit. So that idea on my second year as a lay missionary was something I was entertaining. And my retreat with a monk. He's a Benedictine monk who, until today, is I would consider one of my dearest guides. Walked me through it until a fellow mountaineer entered the SVD 2 years before me and introduced me to the congregation.
I mean, there's something with the mountain. I mean, obviously I'm biased because I was born in Baguio, but there's something spiritual.
Ah,
There's the call of the mountain. There's kind of a spiritual, heavenly almost call there. I mean, I always felt most at home. I mean, as a writer, I always felt at my most profound and sentimental whenever I see the mist and the pines in Baguio or
mhm,
whatever in the
mhm.
world. And then, of course, yung humihingal ka na and then suddenly you're like breathing out all of the toxicity in your mind, not only yung literally all the toxicity in your system. So maybe that mountain climbing, Father, no, kind of
Yeah, the
prepared you, parang minasahe yung grounds for something more special.
the peak experience, the struggles of climbing, and the formation was not easy. I mean, I've cried several times in evaluations. I was not recommended on several years of formation by my own peers, saying that he's too worldly. He goes out at night. He still drinks. So it was never a walk in the park. The only thing was I fell in love with the life that includes theology and prayer. I've never studied so seriously. I never took my studies seriously when I was young. But when theology came, I just fell in love with it. And I've never read so many books when I was studying. And the life became something that filled the void and answered most of the questions that I've been looking for. And it was it was a again, I would go back to that. It's where mercy found me.
I didn't take exactly your path, but as you can see, there's probably 1,000 books behind me. I had a sense of hollowness at some point. I didn't go into. My mom was very strict, so nakabantay, walang no room for
Okay.
kalokohan. But I always felt there was some sort of emptiness, and that's why I always had this kind of aggressive personality, aggressive debater. I get into trash talking and all of that, and then once I started reading, especially literature, not only the usual social
Mm.
science and everything that became my bread and butter, it had a calming effect, almost therapeutic, I would say. And then suddenly, like, the vessel of my soul was being filled up by something, right? And the next thing you know, you're slowly and slowly transforming. So of course, I studied the neuroscience of it. It really rewires your brain, right? When you read good
Yes.
stuff. So I can imagine there's a kind of an analogy to that, or analogous rather, process of spiritual. And I think the thing with Catholic the religion is also it's a very sophisticated, no? I mean, intellectual religion, right? I mean, in the sense that grabe malalim ang Catholic theology. Pag binasa mo talaga,
Mm-hmm.
mapapaisip ka talaga eh. It is
True.
very intellectually exercising in a very good way, I would say. Even taxing in a good way, I would say. Again, I say it as a layperson, and then I talk to my folks who are doing studies in Vatican and among other things. Parang, oh, interesting. Parang nagma-masters of law rin kayo. Parang ganun. Canon law, di
Yes.
ba? Like, basically, like I'm modern law comes from the Catholic Church, right? Which preserved the Roman imperial law. So
Yes.
see the intellectual heft of it. So I can relate to you on that, Father. Now, Father, let's talk a little bit about yung the things that became your core advocacy. Simulan muna tayo dito sa Arnold Jensen Kalinga Center in 2015, providing dignified service to people. Like, where is this coming from, Father Flavie? And what were the circumstances around that?
Uh, if you would ask me, Richard, what my plans for my priesthood were in 2013, my superiors would easily probably say that this guy is ready. We're grooming him for the schools to be an administrator, to be part of the education ministry. Uh, Prior to that, I was they sent me to the missions. I never thought that I'm a for export quality, but nevertheless, they sent me to Timor. And unfortunately, my mother was getting old and sick. So after one term, I returned to take care of her. But while here, they assigned me to the seminary to pay my debts. Yung dating pasaway, maging taga-saway daw. And after almost 10 years, I think 9 years being there, they were preparing me for something else. But Arnold Janssen Kalinga Center was only born when they gave me a specific office that's still now being called as Justice, Peace, Integrity of Creation. And unfortunately, when I entered and when I was appointed the office, there was very minimal program, and I was ready to work. I was ready to jump and get my hands dirty, but there was nothing to start with. So my idea as a manager, as a former manager marketing, was to scout the area, see what we can do. The dictum, one of the dictums of the Society of Divine Word would be the prologue of Saint John. That is, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So the question was, how could the Divine Word make its relevance felt among the people around us? Who are the people around us who the Divine Word could reach out to? And there was the homeless. There is an influx of homeless where I live in Tayuman. DOH is here. There are several provincial hospitals around us. It's near a station. It's near SM San Lazaro. So it's really a place where people flock, and when people flock, homeless people who collect their garbages, who collect their food, excess food, whether they could also ask for beg for money, expect them to be there. So I thought of developing something uh, for the homeless, and that is where that developing that program became again a passion. I don't want to just simply care, particularly provide food. It was very clear to me we offer showers. That's why We said we only provide dignified care. So now we are known as one who provides uh, showers and buffet meals. Then, never wanting to stop there, uh, we have to provide education and value formation. So we have our alternative learning system that welcomes dropouts from the formal schooling, and then we provide them with the tools, the materials, and we later on the third year, I developed a holistic formation program for homeless people who would like to get out of the life cycle of the streets. Following the holistic program, when they end and finish it, we recommend them for employment. Actually, I do have a photo of what they look like when they go through the program, after and before their showers. I don't know. I think I could show it to you. This is Andy.
Right.
This is Andy, and this is him now.
Wow.
He just
Maybe
he just got
that's what we
sworn
call
in.
before and after. Oh, wow.
He just got sworn in at
Wow.
the National Historical Commission last month.
Wow. Total transformation, no?
Yeah, another would be this guy.
Mm.
Sabi nila pwedeng artista. Sabi ko, ako manager niyan. You talk to me if you want to take him on the films. Is
Ako
now
medyo
working.
kontrabida, medyo kontrabida ka.
Yes, may kilay. May kilay siya.
Yeah.
That's George, you know.
Right.
He's working in one of the offices in the parochial schools. But when he was coming to me,
Oh,
this was him.
wow. Medyo
This was
Tarzan
him.
movie ang vibes
Sabi
niya.
niya,
Wow.
he's helping out in the theater and he's acting like a Judas. Sabi ko, yeah, bagay sa'yo, Judas.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
and lastly, this just this December, uh, I was invited to attend the Christmas party of of a company where our homeless are now employed. And if you would look at
Yeah.
the faces of these people,
Right. They look happy.
they look happy.
They
They
look
they
very
were
happy.
able to blend.
Wow.
And when I asked a friend of mine, can you identify who's the homeless, a former homeless there? He pointed at the one with the jacket. Sabi ko, hindi yan. He's the supervisor, man.
Ginawa pang ex-homeless yung ano, nag-homeless din.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
homeless people are the ones in the middle.
Fresh
And
sila eh. Napaka-fresh kasi nila eh.
yes,
Napagod yata yung
yes.
supervisor.
So that is what we call providing dignified, systematic, and holistic care. We need to recreate and empower their lives so that they can once again have their dignity restored.
Obviously, this issue, this theme, gained tremendous amount of poignance just a year after. So 2015 kanina pinag-usapan natin.
Mhm.
When Rodrigo Duterte was elected as a president, and for some of us who were taking him both literally and seriously, because I've studied populists around the world, I know they do when they say they're going to do something crazy, they will do some version of that once they're in power. Whether
Okay.
it's Narendra Modi, whether it's Erdogan, whether it's Orban, and later on with Trump, when they say they're going to kick out people, they're going to do it. Whether performatively or not, they're going to do a version of it. So when Digong said he is gonna, kill people and all of that, immediately I went and tried to study as much as I could about Davao, right? Because admittedly, I was not
Okay.
as informed about Davao. So, and everything I read about, what happened in the 80s and how Duterte, instituted order, etc. Because eventually I wrote a book. I mean, ganun ka, that's how
Yes,
the
yes.
issues I am. By 27, I had already had an international publisher. But it was like a crash course on Davao politics from 1970s onwards. Father, you were familiar with Davao. You had an idea about Digong, I suppose, right? I mean, when you felt he was about to become the president and then he eventually becomes president. In fact, yung mga EJK nagsimula dito sa QC even before Digong uh, was inaugurated as a new president. Kumbaga nag-preemptive tokang na eh. Can you tell us a little bit about your state of mind and then were you bracing for something and what was going on? Because eventually that culminates in your paghilom or healing program, which is really catered doon sa
Yeah.
mga
Uh-huh.
ng EJK. I can imagine this was really a tornado of emotions, and you could see that a tsunami was coming.
Yeah, yes and no, Richard. Allow me to say that to begin with. I was in
Sure.
Davao certainly for more than a year. That's where I was formed, both in the city, but a lot of times I was in the mountains in Calapagan in Davao Oriental. But I was already definitely hearing about Alsamasa. I was hearing about the struggles of the mass movements. Duterte's name was known as a mayor, but sadly, ignorantly, I was more involved with environment. Perhaps that was my remiss. I wrote several articles in Davao News. That time, I was passionate about the military. Uh, but this is where I say the tsunami. Something that I did not anticipate because and this is something I've opened up to that I voted for the evil, for the devil. Uh, a lot, just like a lot of church leaders who believe that this guy could deliver, and
Was it like a
also
Solomon who will bring a kind of a swift justice? I mean, like what's the thing?
yes. Yes, and this is where I also fault the church that we failed to dig deep and mirror to the people, just as we mirror the candidates as we do today, that this is a monster. This, in the words of Sani Trillanes, this person is an epitome of evil. After meeting with him in Davao for 2 3 hours, when he was in search of a candidate, he didn't need to hear more. He knew
Oh
very
yeah, he was
well.
boasting about, shooting people and like, body parts being splashed over the wall. I
Yes.
mean, this is Sonny, a tough boy, this is a military guy and he felt that was too graphic. Even if bola lang daw yun, that was a bit sick daw. Sabi ko na, sira ulo tong taong to, gumanon daw.
Mhm.
That was
He
the
knew
reaction
that.
of
Yes.
Trillanes.
Yes. He knew that. Whereas for us and our ignorance, uh, mea culpa. No, mea culpa. Uh, I was following the news. I was bitterly, painfully closing my eyes, saying, "This will stop. This will stop. This will end." So after a month of nightmares, this is wrong. That's when I declared, "Tama na. I will not be part of this anymore." So I started reaching out to people, to our friends who were very much involved. That's where I started seeing Vince, Go, and Rafi Lerma, and our friends who were Rise Ups was already actively campaigning. And I remember meeting Mary Ann and Grace Garganta, and they didn't know me, but I threw in a handkerchief a piece of paper with my phone, name, and address and said, if you need help, tawag lang po, tutulong po ako. Nais ko pong tumulong. They called me after 2 weeks. And that was the start of it. No, we shared stories. The first thing I asked was, kanino kayo nagtitiwala? The second was, how can I help? The third would be, uh, hindi tanong, pero pakiusap. Pwede nyo ba akong dalan pa ng kapwa tinokhang nyo? And then that's where I had to. They brought three more. The six brought 12 more, and that's when I started to write a program, a psychological healing, that leads to a holistic boundaries of recreating and empowering lives. So that's how it started until the dambana ng paghilom, the memorial that we have now was just, again, this was out of, I didn't thought of it until I lost one remain. When a mother lost one, the remains of her husband, and I asked her, how could you lose it? And she was humbly, sheepishly telling me, Father, ano unahin ko? Patay o tinapay? That was like
Yeah,
slapping
that
me.
was how like completely desperate the situation was. I mean,
Definitely.
beyond comprehension.
Mhm. So then I had to look for a lot. I spoke with our now, back then, bishop, now cardinal, if he could give me a piece of lot and I could turn it into a memorial. And now it's dambana ng paghilom.
Wow. The thing I say is, Father, I mean, you know me. I mean, for people, I'm a very frank person, right? I real talk. To be honest, there was a time I had some sort of conflicted relationship with the Catholic Church, precisely because
Mhm.
it was an Irish will issue. I would go to the church during Sundays and then hear people attacking Riza Ontiveros, calling her names, etc. Those were difficult times for me. So I would just go there pag walang, I would say I'll go there. It's just me, I and God. Ganun, prayers ako. So there was a time things were difficult, and as someone who was aware of the role of the Catholic Church, it's a one, it's a dos, etc. I just felt like, where is this going, right? While I was studying also yung rise ng INC, rise ng iba't ibang mga, I call them evangelical groups, etc. And
Yes.
then when this EJK things happen, and then I researched about things you've been doing, Cardinal Ambo, Bishop Ambo, was doing, helping the people on the ground. It forced me to give the church a second look, right? Not to mention, of course, this was also the time when you had Pope Francis, who was speaking the language of the global South, right? Yes, he has Italian background, but I see him as one of us, right? He's one of
Mm.
us, right? He comes from the
Yes.
global South. He spoke our language, almost liberation theology, right? Something that's close to my heart. Um, And then there were friends of mine who said, nung minumura ni Digong ang simbahan and or people in the sa simbahan ng mga someone was there was this very prominent journalist who just got completely angry and said, do people even realize how much the church is doing for this country, including ito pagtulong sa mga biktima, like the most hopeless of the hopeless people, the most helpless of the helpless people, sino ang pumasok at tumulong sa kanila? And that really, I really remember them. Sabi, yeah, exactly. So suddenly after that, I became protective almost of the church. In a sense, like almost very
Tama.
defensive. Like if people criticize the church, like I would defend it. And it was very interesting because I'm usually with leftist people, right, who attack the church. I was not. I was like, what are you talking about? This is the institution. And then nangyari, andun kayo, andun si Bishop Ambo. And then the next thing you know, we had Father Albert also on this show. Like I was aware what we were doing for these people, not only in terms of yung burol, not only in terms of calling out Digong and the EJK, but also, helping justice, which eventually culminated dito sa ICC issue to the degree that you can share, Father. Although, I mean, wala na, archive na yung isa. Although, I saw mukhang may warrant of arrest for the other one. So, I'm feeling good
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
mukhang
coming.
papunta na tayo. Change is coming. as they would say in 2016. Change is coming.
Certainly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Father, uh, tell me a little bit about yung where when you were in the eye of the storm. What were you doing to help these victims and bring justice? To the degree you can share, of course. I know there are security consideration. There are people probably that should not be named. Para lang malaman ng tao yung role ng simbahan. Hindi ito sa pagyayabang, of course, that's what we're doing. I just want, especially the youth, to realize when the dark ages came, when the Vikings landed, people stepped up, and the church was one of the bastions of resistance and humanity and civilization, I would say.
Wow. Where do I begin with that?
Sorry, did I come too
Uh,
passionate? I mean, I'm almost
no,
Italian.
no,
I'm
yes, yes,
a
yes.
very passionate guy. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it, Richard. The way you put it. Congrats. Sana I could. Well, that was perhaps me when I was still in the streets when during those days of Digong. We were just a handful. We were being bashed. We were being ridiculed by our own people of the cloth, our own congregation. Our my own superior was telling me to stop on the very early days. And one question
What do you mean?
was,
Sorry, what do you mean? Is this the quietist approach, supposedly? Like, wag tayong makialam sa politics? I just want to understand where this is
yes,
coming from. Okay.
yes, and I remember the one of the strongest controversial, well, let me just use that word, uh write-up of Sheila Coronel in Manila Times, are priests Duterte's fiercest foes. And Sheila was featuring me and I think
Hmm.
Danny Pilario, because we were both, and Bert was featured there, and the Society of the Divine Word. Well, I remember showing that to Brother Armin and saying, bro, anong tingin mo dito? And then when brother reads it, tarantado ka ba? Kaya ka binabash, kaya ka may death threat eh. Sabi ko, I mean, it's a question. It's so what? I mean,
Right.
and then my superior tells me, you should not have said that. And I had to rebuttal and push the issue because there was a line there that the Society of the Divine Word, like Edicio de la Torre, Conrado Balweg, they have been the front line of social justice demonstrations. That was not me. People knew the stand of the SVD. The SVD has always been in the forefront. Now, where are we? Where are we? You tell me. And then he told me to just kalma, ingat, but if you could keep quiet, just be, just tone down. But I could not. The 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 the
This
the
is where the
widows.
pasaway part helped, right? This is where the pasaway and you came out. No, because honestly, the father, in my world too, you think in the
Mm.
academic and journal, like
Oh, I'm
the
sure.
line
I'm
was like,
sure.
let's explain Dutertismo. Let's like understand where people are coming from. It's like, yes, our democracy failed. Kaya nga nandito tayo, but no, this is not a justification to be neutral in
Ah,
face of mass murder. There were nights I was just crying and feeling completely helpless. Like, well, I mean, like I'm fearing for my own life. At the same time, I'm getting all of this attention, interviewed all around the world to explain Duterte, writing a book on him, going around the world doing book tour. But at the same time, like, my good, my people are dying, and then the other people are cheering, and the other people are just silent, and other people are telling me to just zip it. Like, that was a total
ah,
moral crisis. I didn't want to be judgmental, father, but I was absolutely disappointed in every major institution of authority in our country, from media
true.
to academe, and now you're sharing the other side of the equation. I'm not in a position to talk about that, but I'll believe me.
No,
And then, of
let's
course,
talk
you have the
about that.
non-Catholic sects, non-Catholic groups who were cheering and abusing the word of the Lord to justify. I mean, there were
Mhm.
misrepresenting verses of the Bible to justify it.
True.
I always say, oh my God, that's a big, big sin. Di ba? He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous, right? Abomination yan sa Diyos.
Abomination.
Abomination yan
Yes.
sa Diyos. And these people talaga, Father.
Yeah, yeah. And it even brought me to a point of leaving the congregation for somewhere else, or at least uh taking a leave. Uh but again, as we both mentioned earlier, na hindi naman natutulog ang Diyos. The superior two superiors were replaced, and there was a time na a superior became an angel of a guardian angel, a protector of ours. But it was not without blood, sweat, and tears that we had to go through. I remember when I was about to bring out someone, we it was a project that I did with the late very good friend Chito Gascon. We did not bring him out in the media because he would only be discredited, bashed, and uh, even assassinated. So my superiors did not allow me to leave the the country, and I just told them, sorry, this is this is a matter of life and death. This is a game changer, and he's being asked no less than by the ICC. So you could just either suspend me or kick me out of the congregation, but I will leave with this person whether you like it or not. So yeah, it came to that point, and mas madami yung panahon na ginugol sa luha at dugo kaysa siguro I learned Richard as perhaps a religious and siguro as you said as a mountaineer and an athlete. I tried to enjoy, find solace with pockets of hope. Those were I had to hold on to those. Kasi kung hindi, uh, I wouldn't have lasted, you know. Me and Robert we did a nine day hunger strike, and it was painful to see that other congregations came, and there were just a handful of my own. That my superior was there. My superior was there. Flavie, I stand beside you. So those were pockets of hope, and sabi ko ba, the homeless were there, the widows were there, and these are the people who protected, and the people who obviously battled against us, bullied and threatened us with the supposed state protectors. Uh, I think I knew what hell partly was. I thought I knew hell during my younger days, but it was not never close to what we went through during 16 to 22. But we had to just do what our conscience dictated, knowing that there are people relying from our for help, that there's an angel behind our back protecting us. My the threat even went as close as to my mother's house. So I just had to do what needs to be done.
Uh,
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, of course. Father, I wanted to discuss this because I studied yung Desaparecidos case in
Ah,
Latin
yeah.
America, and of course, remember there was this beautiful movie, Argentinian movie about, there was a lot of indifference, in fact, sympathy for the military that engaged in
Mhm.
extrajudicial killings until, yung mga biktima ay nagsalita doon sa korte, and eventually that turned things, no, and things went from some sort of performative accounting with the past to some sort of
Yeah.
accountability in Argentina, right? So when people heard the story of the victims, then the table turned, right? Including yung mga supporters of the military family. I really suggest people check out the movie. I did a shorts about that. I want to go back to this father because I really feel there's a sympathy gap here, or sympathy asymmetry, especially when we're talking about yung mga biktima na galing sa, from the indigent communities or underprivileged communities. Um, to be honest, until today, I feel the victim's voice, or at least their survivors, their families' voice, is not being given enough attention or did not get enough attention. But I can imagine it was way worse when you were in the thick of action, in the eye of the storm. I mean, hindi ko, I mean, I was really having a hard time. How can people not understand these are people just like us, right? Even if, for the sake of argument, sabi natin nagdroga ito, nothing justifies na you just shoot them down like a cattle, like, I mean, and of course, we had Christina Conti on this show multiple times for her, and we talk about how every time the victims' parents come out, they're bullied, they're attacked, there's gaslit, to put it mildly. And some of this actually, I met a sister of a victim sa Europe during an event after the Hague developments earlier this year. I met one of the moms of the victims recently at they were telling us they feel they're not heard, they feel they're not seen, and this is 2025. So I can imagine in 2016, 2017, 2018, 19, mas grabe yung sitwasyon. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Kasi, it's one thing you have a crazy president, tyrannical president, but societal indifference, or I mean, I don't want to be judgmental, but lack of societal, I would say, moral outrage, to be honest, in my view, was a bit strange. Now, of course, I understand the fear factor, but do you think there's no fear factor in Russia when Navalny and thousands of people came out? You think there was no fear factor in a couple of Middle East? My first book was on the Arab uprisings. People were being shot down as they came out against Gaddafi, against Mubarak,
Uh-huh.
against Assad. I'm sorry, fear is not an excuse for not showing moral outrage, especially at least in private, for heaven's sake. I mean, I was really
True.
shocked. I felt there was really a profound moral crisis, to put it mildly. I could use even more colorful words. And I could imagine that made it triple lonely for you, right? So you're not getting institutional support from the institution you expected. You're facing a government threatening you directly. And then there's also this moral abyss, to put it nicely.
True, true. And even my own family, I remember I had to just tell on my mother na, Mommy, if you cannot be a support, then may she rest in peace. Let's not talk or just shut up, please, because we're just arguing and it doesn't add up to any consolation that I need. So yeah, you're right in saying that the fear should have never been a factor, but it did. It's even the very bastion of the church. Well, the church would as an institution also had skeletons, which, as I said, so I mean, so come out in the
I
open,
understand. So they want
diba?
to make sure you want to
The
avoid a certain clash that could undermine.
Yeah,
I understand. That was a pragmatic, also quietist argument.
yeah.
I get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But talaga sabi ko, sino ba walang skeleton? Ano, I came
Right.
out as a drug addict and I mean, anyway, but also siguro, if there's one thing that Duterte was very successful, apart from that, inflicting fear in the entire population, in institution, he also tore down every moral fabric that
100%.
was there, from the democratic, from the moral fabric. He was the point of reference, eh. And he truly truly destroyed everything. I mean, and he made samples of apart from the killing of the masses, sinampolan talaga nila si Laila, Patricia Fox and the three priests were in various sporadic places, but we knew that there was a white van, and it would always there were occasions that were seen in INC places. No.
Right.
So it was not only dark and frightening, but it brings you to that point of pulling you down, making you small. But the courage of the mothers, they come to me every Saturday, Richard, for the PSI, as we would call it, the psycho-spiritual interventions. And the fact that they would get out of their house, commute, sometimes our processing would end up late afternoon, which I hate because I don't want them to be outside their homes during
Right.
dark. But they did it. They did it. And siguro kasama na sa bonus, part of the bonus would be a 2 kilos of rice and a transportation allowance, and for their life, for their safety. Wow. And here I am constantly living in a place with a guard. Of course, so when someone would ask, nandiyan si Father Flavie, yeah, he's upstairs at 318. Sabi ko, wala kang silbing guard. But I mean, I I was drawn to the plight of the widows and the orphans who, despite having already losing the breadwinner and the loved one, would still persist and insist that we want to be part. We want to be part of the healing. We want to be part of the cause.
Yun nga eh, like parang mahiya ka sa sarili mo to complain. Like
Yes,
whenever you feel,
yes,
it's so,
mismo.
and then you see someone is like, no, just no. So I mean, for us like journalists, like every time I want to complain with the death threats and attack I get, and then I remember yung mga colleagues ko na babae who get rape threats. I mean, you cannot rape threat me, right? I mean, go ahead. But and then I realized, oh my God, it must be 10 times worse for some, and
Yeah.
especially yung mga walang profile. I mean, ordinary reporters who could get just disappeared and no one would know. At least some of us were like, resident analysts of some big network, kahit papano, my
Mhm.
support system, my visibility, etc. Uh, so yun nga, di ba? You always put yourself in perspective. It's like check your privilege, right? Before feeling ikaw yung
Yes.
pinakakawawa and all of that. And that really gives you a lot of inspiration. But you could feel there's like again, not to be messianic about it, but you can feel there's a spiritual force telling you, ne, ituloy mo lang yan, tama lang yan. Just do it. Just stick to it. Fear nothing. You're doing what is right. If tomorrow you don't wake up, at least you live the life worth, emulating, or at least that's the best you could have done under the circumstances.
I cannot say that that did not came to my mind, that what we're doing is first something badly needed by the widows. Second, no one else is doing it. I mean, in the Archdiocese of Manila, sorry to say, at least Caloocan had Bishop Ambo, Novaliches had Bishop Tobias and Caritas, but in the Archdiocese of Manila, it was Bishop Abilio was helping out. There was an institution that helps the drug addicts, but what I was pounding on was, what about the widows and the orphans in Tondo, in Pasay, in Makati? No one. And this is where the scripture dictating they were like a sheep without a shepherd.
Or sheep being slaughtered. I mean,
So slaughtered would be another way, in another verse, na walang kakampi, iniwan, pinatay, pinasabog ang bungo. Kanino sila pupunta? And again, going back to the divine words dictum, what is the word? how could it become flesh? Shouldn't it be here beside the wounded and the widow? So yeah, it was difficult, but a voice, an angel, a spirit was just. There were people who inspired apart from the widows, your fellow journalists, sila Vince Go, sila Rafi Lerma, sila Eloisa. They were there every night. I mean, ako pupunta na lang ako just to receive the family in the wake. But Ezra, I remember, was already pounding and so angry, you know. But yeah, but we had to do. And another hope was when the International Criminal Court started coordinating and reaching out, when we were able to deliver a witness. Doon, I mean, I was so jubilant na at least nakascore tayo. Nakascore tayo. Kahit parang awang-awa nga ako sa sarili ko na, wow, parang one one versus 1,035 ang score nila. But yeah, we celebrate small victories because it's ours.
I mean, also like, versus like, Jesus saying, if they persecuted me, they would also persecute you. If the people don't understand the proper, message of the Lord. Let's talk about here. I don't want to be, ayoko naman maging over optimistic, pero in a way, baka yung sinasabi ni, Martin Luther King Jr. na the arc of history bends at least towards some sort of justice. We're seeing that.
Yes.
Um, Father, I mean, what is your read of this? Where are we today in terms of the arc of history?
Oh, definitely the pendulum of dictatorship has already moved. It used to be on the farthest uh, wing where Duterte was reigning, and now it has moved somewhere, what, one fourth, and we're hoping that it moves towards the middle at least. The wheel of justice has never wavered. Our friends at the ICC has constantly, and I laud them. No, 2 weeks ago I was in communication. I turned over a specimen, and the warrant is. Uh, Actually, it's the third warrant that we're already preparing and anticipating. Uh, so it's taking place. The Truth Commission uh, is already a bill, or at least there was a bill passed. The same simultaneous of ito para sa akin, it's a little victory ulit yung when we launched the museo, the mobile museum at the Congress grounds. The Congress, no less than the Congress grounds. So, uh, yeah. So this space, a huge space that was never there before, where we could again raise our voices freely. Of course, the bashers would still be there, but the the killing, the physical killing has abated, but the killing of the truth is still so much. We're still, that's still a huge work in progress. But definitely the wheels of justice has moved, and we will continue to push and keep pounding the rock so that the people who have been so deprived would at least have something to hold on to one day. And the I don't call them the next generation. The next generation is part of the present generation, whom I sincerely apologize to for for the kind of society we're leaving them. But I still ask for their indulgence that we're not yet finished. We're still working. That they would also be together with us, we could work hand in hand to build that better society that they will be living with their children in the future.
Uh, I know, Father, you have an appointment soon. I mean, it just made me realize we have to have more of this conversation. And siguro, I think we can go on for hours. I can see the kindred spirit.
Thank
Definitely here,
you.
Father. Uh, God really bless you. I'm just disappointed. Wala masyadong bashers. People are actually quite Catholic. I think medyo, some of them probably are surprised to see my more spiritual side. I think they're like, wow, sino to pala to si Richard na to, no? They always see me like using dark humor and dark satire to basically make things a little bit more palatable or acceptable given things. You're absolutely right. Hindi tayo zero ngayon. -10 pa rin tayo. Magzi-zero pa lang tayo in years from now. That's how difficult this is gonna be. But it's a journey worth taking, and at least for my generation, millennials, na feeling ko kulang pa kami in terms of contribution. Hopefully, we'll be able to help this. And we're doing this also for the future generation. Father, of course, this is why you're now the man of the hour, aside from a couple of other. um,
When you say man of the hour, pati sa
yeah,
basher isa.
yeah, exactly. So, what was behind itong kaso kay Sara Duterte at the ombudsman, and why did you decide to be part of this? I mean, parang hindi ba puno yung kamay mo? Ang dami mo nang ginagawa on the ICC front, I mean on the EJK fronts. Why on this issue also? And why Sara Duterte now that the father is quote unquote archived na?
Uh, he might have, Rodrigo Duterte might have been archived, but as I always say, he was just one of those who built the House of Tokhang, and how he's just one of those culprit who destroyed every fabric of what is good in the country. So, kailangan natin habulin yung mga co-workers niya, yung mga katuwang niya sa trabaho, yung mga nagpanday, the engineers, those who painted, those who nailed. So, Sara Duterte is one of those major builders in this culture of impunity. So, part of my prophetic role, I believe, as a priest, is to help forge, regain, and rebuild a society that was demonized, and we have to remove the demons in society, bring them to justice on a minimum, and because only that and there can we once again create a more humane society that we once had, a better one, as I pray.
Last point, Justice, Father Fluffy. I think we'll have to have a complete separate discussion about advice not in the next generation. As I was telling you, I'm based in probably the most traditionalist college in Oxford right now. So I have conversation with folks who come from the Anglican Church. People talk about tradition. There's this sense of lost, parang meaninglessness among the younger generation. At least a lot of young male in the West, among other things. So mahabang usapan yan because I think relevant din sa atin yan. There are a lot of younger men that that ask you for advice, and I wonder what advice can I give them aside from the usual advice about how to be successful and have the nice car and the nice watch and all of that, right? I mean, it's nice to have nice things, but it always goes beyond that. Because when the tough times come, all of those things are completely useless.
Mhm.
Father, so eto na, pag Christmas na tayo, mag New Year resolution na. What is your advice to people in the coming days to in terms of reflection and in terms of what to look forward to? At ano yung mga bagay na siguro dapat nilang bigyan pansin or tugunan or magkaroon siguro ng soul searching without being, I don't know, the reason I love talking to you is hindi tayo sanctimonious na nile-lecture. No, this is very self-reflective. I mean, people can see how emotional we are about these issues and how human we are. And I'm so glad to see your emotional transparency, Father, which is extremely reassuring and morally inspiring. Ano yung Christmas message mo, Father? And
Mhm.
what thing we should look forward to in 2026?
Uh, I will not move away from that word life. Yung sa Tagalog mas maganda yung buhay. Hanapin natin kung paano mamuhay. Yung the life that well, let me put it in Tagalog please. Yung buhay, paano natin mabibigyan paano magiging buhay? And yung saya, paano yung mas masaya na hanggang pumunta sa galak? That having material things, having a new cell phone, having a new dress, a Lacoste, these are nice. But if
Maybe
you look
not
at
Lacoste. I think the crocodile thing is a bit
okay, yeah,
maybe not
yeah.
Lacoste. Yeah.
Thank you for that reminder.
A different animal. It's like,
So someone gave me one last night. I should have reminded that person. But going back, I would like to invite them to look within and look at what's inside. Ano yung kalooban? Yung pinakaloob natin, what's there? If we then let's try to see what's there. Because whatever is there, I think that would be the measure of both our joy, emptiness, and meaning. And I pray that we find something beautiful there. And if there's nothing inside there, look around. Please look around. There will be people wanting to listen, waiting to listen, wanting to care.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, the best revenge against darkness is to live your life fully and meaningfully, right? That's the best
True,
way for us to
true,
get back
true.
at all these
That's
bad
true.
people, at all these bad
Uh-huh.
people. More of these bad people
Yes.
will be in detention soon, God willing, or inshallah, as Muslims
You're,
put it. Yeah.
you didn't tell me that I could be that radical. Ikulong ang mga korap, unahin si Duterte.
100%, 100%. Obviously, it doesn't keep scot-free the rest of the Lacoste and Gator and
Definitely,
Crocky gang.
definitely.
But as I said, parang Dante Alighieri yan eh. May circles of hell yan eh. Let's first
Yes,
deal with the worst circle before we go
that's
up
true.
and then deal with the purgatorio. On that note, Father, thank you so much. Grabe, 1 hour and a half na tayo almost. I thought mga 30 minutes lang pwede na tayo. But you see what I was trying to do, which is like, people have to understand the context of where you're coming from. And in a way, I think people better understand the context of where I'm coming from, where's all my passion and anger and energy is coming from because medyo mahugot eh. Mahugot tong bagay na to eh. I mean, for some of
Yes.
us, this is my 20s when this was happening. So, formative years yan. Ngayon na medyo naging mas mature na tayo, I can look back and say, maybe I did the best I could. Maybe I can do better. So, thank you so much, Father, for giving us that moment for self-reflection. And hopefully, as soon as I go back to hometown of Baguio, I'm going to do also my end of the year spiritual reflection. Ituloy natin yan, Father. No,
Please,
hindi
I look
naman Ronald
forward.
Llamas level na every day, but I hope I can have you regularly also on our show. We need also someone like you. You are an original, and I mean it. This is not a backhanded British thing. You are an original, and I mean it in every sense of the word. I'm just disappointed. Wala masyadong bachelors. Purong post. Parang ano, na-tame ang tao sa atin. This is
But they giving me a break because it's my birthday pa. Oh,
Oh
birthday
my God,
kahapon.
happy
So,
birthday. I'm so sorry for
uh,
holding you back. So I owe you also
no, no,
a
no, no.
birthday gift, Father. And please pray for us, Father, for us also yung mga younger and less strong and less less purposeful people para ituloy din namin yung laban namin because believe me, if whatever crossroads you face, imagine how much more confused and despondent a lot of us were. But salamat
Mhm.
naman sa Diyos, we somehow we found our way through. And I feel very blessed to have had this conversation with you, Father, and hope you also in some way took something from this conversation, po.
Most beautiful. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and thank you for this. This is a beautiful gift, and let's have this soon. Let's have another session soon. When you're here, let me know. Let's catch up for coffee or for a drink with Ronald.
Absolutely. Let's take a picture, three of us para maraming bashing. Good for occasion. I always love that. Salamat.
Okay,
God
you
bless
take
and happy
care.
birthday,
God
Father.
bless you. Have a beautiful